Hey everybody, it's Rick Trummer from Rick Trummer Consulting and Training, and hopefully you're enjoying this series on retouching / color. We've been working for the last few days. We've been working with the hue and saturation area inside Photoshop, and today we're going to finish up with the hue and saturation because I wanted to show you a couple little quick techniques that you can do inside here. What we're going to do is, again, we're going to go into the hue and saturation area on this particular lesson. And then what we're going to do is beef up the colors in each of the areas that we want to change a little bit. So I'm going to pull it off master and I'm going to go into my blues area. And since there's not a whole lot of other blue in here, I'm just selecting blue and I'm not going to specifically mention or isolate those particular items. I'm just going to grab blue. Let's just move this down just a little bit. And I'm just going to oversaturate the blue just a little bit. So you can see I just went in, oversaturated the blues a little bit. And then what I'm going to call this is, I'm just going to double click on it and call it my blue colors. That way I know what the layer is doing and I can go back in and change it if I would like to. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to select another area in here. So I'm going to go back to my background and I'm going to go to hue saturation again. Now this time I'm going to actually select these little yellow bushes that I have inside here. So we're going to go off of master. We're going to go into yellows, but this time I want to make sure I have all of the colors that I want. There's a little bit of an orange bush over here. I want to make sure I'm getting in this isolation as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, click on the one side, push it to the other side so I collapse those bars together. I'm going to grab my eyedropper and then I'm going to come over here and select that area. You can see it goes right into the yellows. That's great. I'm going to go ahead and desaturate and you can see it's picking up a good portion of the trees that we have here. Now I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to select all of the smaller colors that are inside here. There's some orange, a little bit of orange right there. I want to make sure I'm getting. Then there's that little bit of orange over here that I want to make sure I'm getting as well. So we got that. So area's been selected. I'm going to widen out my bars just a little bit. And again, the reflection in the water is the same way. I'm going to move this back to 0. So I'm exactly back to the point where I was before. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change that color so it's a little bit more of a fall shade. So I've got kind of an orangish shade that I'm going to be doing there, which looks kind of cool. So I've got that. So I'm going to double click on that layer and I'm going to call this my yellow bushes so that I know exactly what color shade that I'm working with. Now from there then, let's select one more. So I'm going back to the background. And let's go back into my hue and saturation. And this time I'm going to grab the green trees. So let's just go into greens. And that is going to be nice for a selection. I think it'll do very, very well. So I'm going to oversaturate a little bit. And then I'm just going to switch my color so it's a little bit different here. Let's kind of go into a little bit more of a heavier green coloring. So now I've got all of this taken care of as far as my coloring and everything, and I'm doing pretty good. Let's just call this we'll call this green trees. So now that I've got them all listed, now what I'm going to do is we've made multiple choices inside of this shot. We've been able to beef up color, isolate those color tones that we wanted to, and we've done some pretty cool things with this photo. We're now going to go into the black and white filter because this is the cool thing about hue and saturation and isolating color tone. We're going to grab our black and white layer. We're going to make sure that it's on the top so anything down below is working in adjustment for that. Now, as we always have done, we've always gone in and again, the red channel is kind of controlling the contrast of the actual image. Yellows and greens are controlling kind of the details of those images. And the blue area is controlling kind of the noise in those areas along with some of the magenta coloring shades. So we kind of know what the general purpose is. Now the great thing is that we can go into any of these individual areas and work with it so that it affects the final black and white. So in this area, we've got the blue colors that we've actually got highlighted here. Now what we need to do is when you click on the layer again, it goes back into the master area. If you actually, once you click into that, what you want to do is you want to go back to down to where it says blues, because that's where the channel is. Now once we have that, we can now make adjustments here, and you can see how it's going into the actual black and white photograph and making those changes here. So you can see where we could pick individual color shades and be able to bring them into the black and white so that they look a lot better in the final presentation. Same way with the other layers. Let's go into the yellows. And again, we got to go into where it says yellows here because that's where we're at. You can see where we're back where we were. Now we can make adjustments from the black and white. Let's change the color palette. You can see how it's lightening and darkening your color inside here. So what's happening is you're finding that more dynamic range is being able to be pulled up from these color areas that you have inside, and you'll be able to work with them. Same thing, let's go to the greens. And again, we've got to go back from master. We've got to go into the greens because that's where we ended up. And now we'll be able to go into and change some of the greens here in the water. You can see it's a little dark there. I'm going to lighten them up. And let's change the color palette just a little bit. So what we're doing is we're specializing these black and white color tones inside here to create more dynamic black and white. The more colorful the shot, the more that the detail is going to be able to be worked inside the black and white. So you can see here we've got numerous color shades that we'll be able to be working with. And we'll be able to go in and isolate each of these shades to create more dynamic black and white in our final transition with more shots that are more colorful. So with that in mind, this is just another way of you doing a lot more different and higher end black and white if you want to take the time to go in and actually go into each different channel and work with it. Now, what I want you to do is, if you're really looking for a lot more information about this, go into our products area. And in our full DVD training area, there's an entire disc on full color management, which includes everything that you could possibly ever want to know about working with color. So that's in our color management disc. So if you've never been to the ricktrummer.com site, please go in here and take a look at all of the different products we have, from business and marketing to full training DVDs on a wide variety of subjects. We've got Photoshop action, brushes, textures, templates. There's just a bunch of different stuff in here. And right now, we're booking for our spring classes. We've got basic photography training and professional photography training. So just click in, take a look at what we have going and have to offer at Rick Trummer Training or Consulting and Training. So until next week, I am Rick Trummer, and I hope you've enjoyed this series on Hue and Saturation. We'll come back next week and show you some more color techniques. Until then, have a great one.